Well, joining me now at the Autumn Property Investor Show, I'm delighted to be joined by Stephen Johnson, MD of Shawbrook Bank. So always good to see you, Stephen. And I know you're fresh out of your Q&A session, and I think it must have been really like a barometer of what was on landlords' minds. So what were the main sort of issues that were coming up?
Sure. So we had 14 questions and we didn't get past the third one.
Oh, okay.
So it was great. Of the 4 or 5 years we've been doing it, it's been the most interactive and the best one we've done. So we got stuck on interest tax relief, as you can imagine. So the implications, we spent a bit of time trying to make sure that all the landlords understood exactly how the tax calculation works and the implications of it, and therefore the debate about are landlords better off structuring their properties in companies and the impact it might have on the more amateur landlord versus the more professional landlord.
Yep.
So to be fair, that dominated the debate, and we ran over, and it was a great session, and clearly a lot of people are very naturally, quite rightly concerned. A lot of people probably slightly naive around the implications and kind of haven't fully understood it, and then there's other people that have absolutely understood it and are now very exercised about how do they structure their portfolios and what's the right strategy now. So that was the session.
Main thing. So I think, of course, that with the tax question, it's very much a case of finding an answer to suit the individual, because it's not going to be a case of one size fits all.
No.
The answer is going to be different from an existing landlord or somebody just starting out.
Yep.
But could you just give an overview of the main issues of moving an existing portfolio into a limited company structure?
Yeah, so I think you're quite right, and from a landlord's perspective, are you concerned about income tax? Are you concerned about selling assets and capital gains? Are you concerned about wealth planning for your generation? So inheritance tax is important.
Yep.
And each of those three is impacted differently. So when everyone says, oh, well, limited companies offer you a shelter for your income tax, that is correct. But income tax isn't necessarily the only consideration that landlords should have. So it is important to think about your own needs. In terms of transferring, clearly, a lot of lenders would not allow a transfer between an individual and a company without cash deposits. At Shawbrook, we're comfortable not to have a cash deposit because it is a bookkeeping entry. It needs to be recorded in the company's accounts correctly, so it's a loan going in.
Yep.
Now, landlords can use that as a way to distribute money out of the company, and that's a loan repayment, so that doesn't attract income tax, so that's actually quite favourable.
Yes.
So that is the kind of physical transfer. Clearly, you still have stamp duty and capital gains.
Well, those are the big ones.
Absolutely, and whilst there's still cost in remortgaging, so there's cost of remortgaging, and then clearly the stamp duty and the capital gains. So for me, there's going to clearly be a lot of thought going into, are there structures that landlords can use lawfully which will assist with that transfer? And at the moment, we are trying to do diligence on those as we find them, to see if they are workable, and as a lender, can we get comfortable with them, either from do we think that they're appropriate and lawful and they're not reputational issues associated with them?
Yep.
And then secondly, does it affect our enforceability of the security in an event that we had to? Does the structure in any way impact our security and the value of the asset, basically? But what we're trying to do is be quite forward thinking and inviting these kind of structures and looking at them ahead of seeing them on a loan application.
Yep.
So that if we can do the work and then say, actually, this can work and we can be comfortable, then the landlords will be able to sort of approach us with confidence that they're not going to get stuck because they're trying to do something that the lender can't understand.
Yes.
And that's really what we're doing.
Excellent. That's really interesting to hear that, because we've sort of had a post on Property Tribes about be wary of scams arising, because a lot of people will be jumping on the bandwagon and say, I have the answer.
Yes.
So it's really great to hear that you as a lender are going to do due diligence on anybody that's thinking of entering into one of these schemes.
Well, yeah, what I said is we would look at the schemes.
Look at the scheme, I mean.
So
yes.
we're not proposing to promote the schemes.
No.
What we're looking to do is the work to see whether we think they're sensible things that we can be comfortable with as a lender.
Yes.
Now, clearly, I do think landlords should be thoughtful about it, because the legacy portfolios are materially going to be impacted by these changes. So we want to help landlords. We're not going to be advocating structures. We're going to be trying to just
Sorry,
be...
I didn't mean that. I meant that you were just kind of being wary of the fact that there will be a lot of schemes coming out, and you'll be you've already
You're
said
right
you
to
want
flag that, and we want to be supportive and pragmatic.
Yes.
Because it's in everyone's interest to be helpful and that transfer from individual to limited company clearly is materially going to be very much in focus for landlords now.
Yes.
So if we can facilitate and support that, then we will do, because it's in everyone's interest to do that. But you're right, the health warning must be that, look, we live in a market where whenever something changes, someone's opportunistic, and who knows what weird and wonderful things will be presented to people. And it's a case of being sensible and looking at structuring that's efficient.
Yes.
Versus being sold something, I guess, which it could be quite it could be difficult to be effective, or may not be lawful, and landlords got to be sensible about got to be cautious, because we all know how this industry works. People will see that, and before you know it, see an opportunity for themselves, and that's a worry.
Indeed. So just to finish, Stephen, will you as a bank be bringing out more products suited to the limited company structure?
Yeah, I mean, as you know, we've always been a lender that's been very focused on the professional landlord, limited companies. We do offshore structures, so that's our territory, and therefore we think we're well positioned to support landlords in this transition, and it will be a transition for many of them. And no, absolutely, we're very excited about building the business materially, want to grow materially, and as I say, this is our territory. We understand this, and as hopefully it comes across, we're willing to be forward thinking and supportive where we can be. So yeah, we're absolutely going to be helpful where we can be helpful, and keen to do as much as we can to assist.
Fantastic. Well, thank you as always for your support and input into the Property Tribes community. It's really valuable to us to hear your views, so thanks for joining me.
Very kind. Thank you very much.